Welcome and good afternoon. I'm glad to see so many people that are here, especially so many that will be joining this table as we depart. So thank you all for coming out. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the territory of the Sechelt First Nation, and we always appreciate the welcome that they've given us to do our business here. I'd like to call to order the Thursday, October 25th, 2018 regular board meeting, and as you all know, this is the last board meeting of this particular iteration of the Sunshine Coast Regional Board. We have an agenda in front of us, and I'll just look to see if there's any amendments to the agenda. None from staff. Anything from here? No. Then I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. Thank you. Seconded. All those in favor? That's carried. And we move. First item is the regular board meeting minutes of October 11th. And I'd look for a motion to receive and adopt those. Thank you. That's and seconded. Are there any errors or omissions in that before we call the vote? Pages 1 through to 13. If there's no errors or omissions, all those in favor of adoption? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Any business arising from those minutes? No business arising. We'll move on then to our reports. First item is item 3, Planning Community Development Committee recommendations. I'd like somebody to, first, are there any of those recommendations that should be pulled before we adopt the others? And Director LaBelle.
Thank you. I'd like to pull recommendation number 3, please.
Okay.
Discussion. Thank you.
And I skipped. Oh no. I was moving too quickly. We could have then a recommendation to adopt the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations numbers 1, 2, 4, 6 through 10, and 12 and 16 from October 11th. Thank you. Seconded. All in favor of those recommendations? That's carried. And if I can move then to recommendation number 3, which is zoning amendment bylaws to implement short-term rental accommodation regulations. And I look to Director LaBelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My intent here is just to drill down a little bit on an aspect of the proposed bylaws that I think we had a fairly packed agenda at that planning committee meeting, and I neglected to ask a question with regards to the issuance of temporary use permits. And I just wanted some clarification from staff around what the scope is for possible processes for the issuance of temporary use permits as proposed for non-resident STRA operators. I just want to be sure that this director understands that before voting on the recommendation, and also that I think we have a community that will be interested in that topic. So to the chair, staff, please.
Okay, and to staff, are you able to give us some sense of how the temporary use permits may operate?
Thank you for the question, Chair Milne. Procedures around temporary use permits are addressed in both the Local Government Act and in our Procedures and Fees bylaw. Similar to other planning applications, if an application for a temporary use permit is made, published notification of the application is made and a letter of notice is sent to neighbours. And applications for temporary use permits can, and staff would suggest, following our practices, would be referred to APCs. And staff would consider the comments received and prepare a report for committee. Does that answer the question? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that response. And then I would look for somebody to move recommendation 3, which is to bring forward the Sunshine Coast Regional District zoning amendment bylaws forward to the board for first reading. Thank you. Seconded. And all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you for that work. We have item 4, Interesting, this comes forward at the inaugural meeting of the District of Sechelt, traditionally, but it's the last thing that this board can do, which is to adopt the report from the Senior Manager, Administrative and Legislative Services, and the recommendation is that the report titled 2018 Local Government Election Results be received. Who would like to enthusiastically do that? Thank you for that. Any discussion? I think it's pretty clear. Numbers are numbers. All those in favor? That's carried. Congratulations to all of those who are in the room who deserve congratulations on the numbers that we just received and adopted. Item 5, Annex C, CAO report. Motion to receive. Thank you. And seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Nobody's opposed to your final report. Let's see if there's any questions. Any questions or items you'd like to bring up? Traditionally, we simply receive the report and then directors, rather than having the CAO go through it again. Looks like everyone... Oh, a comment at this point? Director Wynne.
Thank you. Thank you. Third paragraph of CAO's report on the work the CAO is doing with AVICC, and this is very good work, especially on the solid waste management committee, and working with the MOE on that, and with Ministry of Transportation on active transportation corridors. And just wanted to highlight that the CAO has taken the lead on this, on working with all of the other communities within AVICC, and it's very much appreciated. And I look forward to the work continuing on these two very important initiatives. So thank you to the CAO for taking the lead on it.
Okay, thank you. And Director LaBelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking just for a little bit of context on the item in the last paragraph, the Ethical Public Servant Panel. Is that UBCM, is that FCM, and is that through application or invitation, or just a little bit of background there, please, through the Chair of Staff.
Ms. Levies.
Thank you, Chair Millen. This is a forum that's held every year, and it is specifically for CAOs across the province. And this theme is related to the local government elections, after the elections, embracing and leading change. And I was very honored to be asked to sit on this panel along with my other colleagues that are all men on the panel. So I'm the only woman.
Thank you for that. And before we move on, this is probably an opportune time to thank CAO Levies for all of the reports you've done, and for leading this board as well as you were able to over the last through your tenure. Thank you very much. Communications. We have 2 letters from the school board chair, Laurie Pratt. We could have delayed these so you could receive them as well. I always found that fun. Yeah. Motion to receive items 6 and 7. Thank you. Seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? I'll take that as all in favor. Any comments on either the regional growth strategy and water sourcing or the cannabis issues? I think, again, they're very straightforward. They've been received, and staff will bring those forward as they relate to work that goes for the future board. Okay, we're into bylaws. And the first bylaw, item 8, is the Egmont-Pender Harbor Official Community Plan, bylaw number 708, 2017. And it's in front of us for third reading as amended, and it's on page 20 and 21. The public hearing was held on September 5th, and third reading is moved by. Thank you, Director Morrow. This is for electoral areas only. Seconded. Thank you very much. And Director Morrow, if you could like to speak to third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say that this is the result, and it's good to see it before the board for third reading and adoption. third reading as amended and adoption. This has been a long process since about 2015, late 2015. There's many people that have worked hard to get what I think is an excellent official community plan. And I just want to thank, as I did last time, I won't reiterate everything going forward, but I just want to thank our staff for all their work and the committee for all their work to formulate this plan. So the other thing is that obviously this is an amended plan at third reading from the results of the public hearing, and the SCRD has listened to the community, and I'll move third reading.
Thank you, which has been seconded, I think, Director Noor. All those in favor of third reading, electoral areas only? Any opposed? That's carried. And adoption, thank you again, and seconded. And all those in favor of adoption? And that's carried without opposition. And just a note to those in the gallery, official community plans take a long time. They're a long process to go through, but they can be amended by future boards or at others at any time if newly elected people think that's in order. Item number 9, which is Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 310-184 at pages 85 through to 87. And this is before us for first reading only, and first reading is moved by, and again it's electoral areas. Thank you, and seconded by Director LaBelle, moved by Wynne. All those in favor of first reading? Any opposed? That's carried and is now before the board. We'll go to public hearing. Second reading? No?
Just first.
Just first, huh? Okay. Item 10, Sunshine Coast Regional District Electoral Area A Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 337-1990, and this is on page 88 to 90, and it's also before us for first reading only. Director Morrow is pleased to move, and seconded by Director LaBelle. All those in favor of first reading? Thank you. That's carried, and that's also before the board, and we'll come back for second reading and public hearing at a later date. If I may start the director's reports on my right and the gallery's left. Director LaBelle, you have pole position.
Okay, set a precedent for timing, shall we? Anybody got a ferry to catch? Great to see the art crawl happening. It's just one of the best weekends of the coast, of the year on the coast. And interesting to read that ferry tie-ups on Sunday night were associated with that. So you can see we're getting folks over this way, and apparently they're getting looser and looser with their wallets as the years go by. So that's great to hear for the artists on the coast. Picked up that there's a Sun Coaster open house coming up on November 15th to go with the trail planning process. So look forward to learning more about that. And great to see the rainwater harvesting program roll out. Noting that I think the community Roberts Creek made an excellent choice for the next person to sit in this chair, as they always do, I might say. So just an opportunity to quickly put some thanks in here. Certainly to 3 generations of my family who've been patient and supportive and wise over the last 4 years, and to the community that not only supported me and stretched my thinking and challenged me, but also drove my kids to lots of soccer games while I was doing other things. I do owe a lot of carpooling favors. And I'll make a point of thanking the advisory committee members. I've done that personally, but important to do here. And certainly there's been some excellent chairs of those committees over the past 4 years who have really helped those committees be effective. I thank my colleagues at the table, those who mentored me, and those who learned alongside me, those who challenged my thinking and helped me learn and grow, and most importantly, those who helped us make good decisions over the years. I'll thank our one employee and our fabulous staff. I have 20 examples written out here of times I've noticed them go over above and beyond the call of duty, and a wide range here. The trouble is when you start to do that, then you leave folks out. So if you're looking for examples, come and see me offline, and I'll go on and on and on and on about remarkable examples of public service. Certainly in this room, I think of folks sitting over there who have filled multiple roles in critical times. I think of general managers who exemplify the best in professional public engagement and model that for their staff, even when there's a director breathing down their neck in Roberts Creek Hall. And general managers who have been extremely patient in explaining for the 14th time library funding to the Area D director, in terms of some of the people in this room. And of course the CAO who responds to emails from directors at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. I sent it before I checked the time. I'm really sorry about that one. Yeah. So SCRD, 4 letters, very easy and quick to write online, but 51 years of public service, and I'm very honored and proud to have been a small part of that. I look forward to supporting Director-elect Theis over the next 4 years. J'ai un ami qui m'a demandé si je suis une éminence gris, et je lui ai dit que certainement je suis gris, mais je ne suis pas sûr que le parti de éminence est là, mais on va voir. And I'm just going to end by perhaps the way I should have started in terms of introducing myself. I've learned a lot about how to introduce myself over the last 4 years. And so if the board will just indulge for a moment. My ancestors were refugees. And I use that term not lightly, but just to help us draw some connections here. They left France 500 years ago. They were Protestants being persecuted by the Catholics. I'm looking at you, Director Morrow. And they left England 7 years ago because of war. And my family left Montreal for language law reasons about 40 years ago. And I left, well, that was Mohawk territory, and I left Toronto, Huron territory a number of years back, and there's about a dozen good reasons to leave Toronto. And fell in love with this part of the world, as so many of us do. And so my final words here are humble appreciation to the Shishalt and Squamish people for the generous and gracious manner I've been welcomed to raise my children in their homeland. Thank you.
Thank you, Director LaBelle. Director Julius.
Thank you, Chair Mylan. No report, but I guess I should say a few words on, it almost feels like high school right now. We've all graduated and we're all going to go our separate ways and never ever see each other again, but that's not the truth because we're all as one here within our Sunshine Coast. Going to miss my friends. As my partner to my right here, I have learned much from them. probably more just being someone at political level, but more of just being a group, I guess a family is what I'm trying to get at. That is what I've come to learn and be welcomed by this group, and they're all going to be gone, but another group is going to come in and take over where they left off. And I'd like to acknowledge all those people who have ran and were successful in being a part of this, and being a part of the good that far outweighs the not so good that all our governments do within the Sunshine Coast. And it's a great honor to be a part of that, and it's going to be a great honor for me to sit with the new team and doing the best we can for our SWEA. So again, going to miss my young teammates, but welcome my new teammates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Director Morrow.
Thank you. I'm going to start briefly the last this election. I spent the last couple of weeks, as most of us have, listening to the new candidates debate and propose what their vision is for the Sunshine Coast Regional District. There's some very good learnings there. I might as well just start by congratulating all of you that have been elected. I think that you're inheriting a fantastic, financially sound, professionally run organization. I'll just go on a bit more on that a little later. I want to thank the directors that I've worked with over the last 7 years. I think that, as the others have said, we've done much good here. I wrote an article for the Spiel, and I won't read it out here, but we've accomplished much, both for each individual area and for the Sunshine Coast. And again, I thank you for looking forward and working together to make things better. I want to particularly thank the staff. I think Director LaBelle said it well, even though he was persecuted by my people. But this professional staff here has done a great job in community engagement, in running a very professional organization. And something that I will say, as I've observed over my time here, that has been has shown very, very much continuous improvement over the time that I've been here. The leadership of our one employee and the new general managers, the organization runs extremely well. Just want to say that I guess I did say it, but we leave an organization to the new elected officials that is financially sound and with a large support staff in behind them. I just want to say that it's greatly appreciated for everyone's work, and I don't want to start repeating what others have said. For myself, I've enjoyed the more relaxed meeting schedule and done some work around the house. I'm looking forward to more of that. And I just want to say that this has been a really rewarding 7 years for me. I think that the sense of accomplishment is there, and the sense of camaraderie with the board and the folks on it. I just want to say that the only thing that prompted me not to run again is a desire to have more control of my own personal schedule, and I'm looking forward to that. And again, just thank you to everyone, and welcome to the new board and representatives of the councils and the local government landscape in the Sunshine Coast.
Thank you very much, Director Morrow. Director Knorr.
Just want to pass some words on to others. During this election campaign, I heard nothing but water discussed all the time. It really hit home when down the street the water line blew. So I did a day or a half or 2 days without water, so I got the drift. But I want to say one thing, and this is to our CEO, who's heard me say this many, many times. I think we could get further with the water system and move on if the First Nations were in the function. So I'm pushing that to the new people. You're talking about doing water first. I would suggest you look at the First Nations and get them in the water function as one of your first choice. I want Mark LaBelle to realize that the CEO used to answer my calls at 10 o'clock. I'm completing 13 years here on the board. Seen a lot of changes in that period of time, and I just want the new people to know a old thing that we did here, especially the rural directors. You might have noticed it already, that certain people like to talk. So we called it the white collar group. And who's got the white collar this week? It's the one that spoke the longest, and you're not sure exactly what they said. So you might find a little bit of fun along the line to carry it on. I never did figure out who won between LaBelle and Wynne, but maybe when Wynne comes forward in a few minutes, you'll make a decision. Thank you all, and I hope you have a good 4 years.
Thank you very much, Director Knorr, and for your most diplomatic comments on directors' reports. Director Wynne.
Thank you, Chair Milne. I don't think I'll get the white collar today. First of all, thank you to my fellow directors. Starting off 4 years ago, it very difficult. Lots to learn. What I refer to as not a steep learning curve, but a cliff that you've got to climb up and learn many, many things. And so it was a difficult climb up that cliff for the first year or so, but eventually got to the top of the cliff. But the mentoring and the leadership during that first period of time from fellow directors and staff was excellent, and I'd like to thank you for that at the beginning of it and throughout the entire 4-year term too. It's been excellent support, and from staff, CAO and senior leadership team, all of the staff. Professional organization that it's just been a great team environment, as it was with the board, and I think that as I say to people from my experience as a project manager many years ago, you get the opportunity to choose the team that's going to work on your particular project, but with local government, it's not quite that way. So for the new people that are coming onto this board, you're going to have to create a team environment, and you haven't been able to choose the people that are going to be on the team with you. So there's going to be some learnings there, and it's and you're really going to have to look at the strengths and weaknesses of your fellow directors and to understand how the team dynamic is going to work. So that's probably going to be the first part of your orientation, is figuring out who everybody is and how are you going to work together as a team. Thanks to my understanding wife and family and friends for their understanding for the many hours that we all have to put into this job. And to my area F constituents, it's certainly been an honor and a privilege to serve the community. Congratulations to those incoming directors. For those that worked their way through the campaign, then it's paid off, and you're sitting out there today knowing that you've got 4 years ahead of you, and it's going to be a challenge. So I congratulate you. For the transition period, as I said, it's a steep learning cliff. I've already started to work with incoming Director-elect Mark Hiltz on Area F issues, and we'll continue to work together on those. I started telling him about some of the issues and things that he'll need to come up to speed on, but I kind of held back at some point because I realized it was getting a little overwhelming. But we'll work through on transition. I'll be there to support him. But my job isn't quite done yet. I have a AVICC executive meeting tomorrow in Nanaimo, and one of the resolutions that was brought forward by actually Director Valeriot to the AVICC convention was on the medical assured loading special pass, and we have a meeting tomorrow with some BC Ferries folks to try and streamline that process to get changes to the medical assured loading. And of course I'm going to continue working on house sound issues, on abandoned and derelict vessels. I see Lucy in the audience there. She certainly understands the importance of that at the federal level too. Interesting to note that there's been 2 vessels that have overturned and were floating through Howe Sound in the last 2 days. So they're still out there, Lucy. We're still going to work on them. Also, environmental initiatives, the UNESCO Biosphere in Howe Sound, Ocean Watch action items, economic development along the industrial corridor, and still lots of things that I'll keep connected to and working on. So it's been, like I say, an honor and a privilege to serve, and good luck to the new board, and thank you one and all for a great 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Wynne. And what do you think, Director Knorr? I think by a whisker he got the white collar.
You said it was a short speech.
Yeah, that's right. Director Valeriot.
Thank you, Chair Milne, and thank you for starting on your right. It means most of the good stuff has been covered. I've only been here for 2 years, so relative to the 4, 7, and 13 years of service, I'm going to keep my time proportional to that. It has been a good 4 years. We've made things look easy. We've made things look hard. There's been some moments of brilliance, and there's been lots of creative tension and strain. But I do want to express appreciation for the immense amount of effort and dedication that everybody on this board has put into this work. So we've even had some teamwork along the way. I will say one thing that is not meant to diminish any of that and anything I've just said, but for the good of this organization, I truly do hope this is the last all-male board in the history of the SCRD. So I raise my hands to Director Julius and to our highly professional and capable staff who will carry the continuity and the institutional memory. We just have to work as partners and not rivals, and this organization can do great things. So it has been truly a privilege and an honor, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And Director White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make my remarks short, which will be consistent with the amount of time that I spent on this board. For those of you who don't know, I've spent 2 6-month terms on this board. So as you go down this table, the time gets less and less. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank my colleagues. I'd like to thank them for their patience and their understanding. It hasn't been easy for them when a director has come on board from Sechelt for a 6-month term. So to them I say thank you. To the admin staff, I want to thank you for your reports. I want to thank you for your information. And I want to thank you for all the answers to the questions that we have asked. In particular, I would like to single out 2 people. I'd like to single out the General Manager of Finance and the General Manager of Planning. Mr. Hall and Ms. Barreau have done an exceptional job, and the organization is in good hands with them at the helm. I want to thank you very much. Thank you.
And Alternate Director Hayes, anything you could report?
I have nothing to report for Lauren. I just have to say I really appreciate the help from the other directors and the staff when I had a problem. This was the second time I've been an alternate director for the Sunshine Coast. I was an alternate director for Area F in the early 80s. I've been a resident of Sunshine Coast since 1969, and I've served on the Area Planning Committee for Area F when they did the first APC, and I just really think a lot of this whole area and the people that live here, and we're very fortunate. I also have to thank Lauren for having the confidence to ask me to be his alternate. And I've known Lauren for a long time through business and through the regional district. And I'd like to thank all the directors and staff.
Thank you for that. As far as I know, this is my last public meeting as an elected official, and a little bit of business to do in the next few days, but nothing public again. So I want to first start by thanking the board that we've been working with. Thank you for your confidence, and thank you for your challenges. As Director LaBelle said, it's through the challenges that we grow. And as W.A.C. Bennett said, a kite can only rise against the wind, and there's been lots of wind to make the kites rise, and I'm fine with that. I think the board has worked very well, and it's met, as has been noted by others, with lots of challenges, and some brilliant solutions was also mentioned. We didn't solve all of the challenges. Some of those challenges we kept, especially for you, who have just been elected. So we'll pass those on with ribbons and bows, and you can take a look at those challenges and find your own way through those. I'd like to say a couple of words to those who are elected in the gallery today, but in 2 weeks we'll be here. And first, congratulations. I think it's really important that you can stand forward for the public, and the public can support you, and you can do the work that is such a contribution. I'd also like to say, when you get to this side of the fishbowl, your character and your intellectual abilities are on absolutely full display. And you shouldn't forget that. The community watches you carefully, and they make their assessments. And they don't want to see boards fighting among themselves or councils fighting among themselves. They like to see you thoughtfully look at the decisions, bring your best intellectual abilities forward, make those decisions even when there are differences, and then remain civil and respectful throughout that. And if you read the message that I wrote in the Local a week ago, I think that was the major accomplishment of the Sechelt Council this term, despite the bitter and long divisions. Speaking of the fact that we're on display, I was reminded this morning of Mark Twain, who suggested that it's always better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So keep that in mind as elected officials when you're sitting on this side, that there are times when silence is worth far more than whatever's running through your mind. It's easy to pontificate. It's pretty hard to take that back if it's been in the wrong direction. In 2 weeks, Mayor-elect Darnell Seegers will be the elected official in the Sunshine Coast with the most experience. 7 years in local government and 30 months on this board. And I want the newly elected people to keep that in mind when you're sorting your way through how you should do things and what you do, because experience is really important. And at the moment, you don't have any. So look to those who do. And it's going to be very important to keep that in mind. 7 years is a long time, and she's dealt with a lot of councillors and directors, different boards and different situations. And that will help all of us if you realize that, yes, we're all new, and in fact it will be, with Director Julius being the exception, it will be all the settler community will be new up here, but the Sea Shelf will still be here with the continuity, and isn't that so fitting in the sense that they provide the continuity and they are the ones that are here before and after and through, and will be long after the Sunshine Coast Board disappears. But keep in mind that experience is important, and working those things out are important as well. So thank you for the time I've spent here in the last while. It's actually, despite popular myths to the contrary, I've only been here for 2 years, and in the last decade, and I appreciated every minute of it. Thanks. Okay, we are going to move in camera, but and it'll be short though, so don't go too far away because there is a bit of a social event afterwards, and we want you to have a chance to mingle and talk to the directors on their way out and staff, and we want to talk to the newly elected people. So we will look for a motion to go in camera and then clear the room, but it'll only be about 5-6 minutes, so don't go too far. I'll take a short break here.